Today, I was working on my stylized windmill project and was getting frustrated with not being able to see my full finished mesh being previewed in Substance Painter. I ran into some issues and wanted to share my learnings. Now that I'm starting to do more final texturing, it's good to see the full picture. What I learned after this whole process was I should have done this before doing any of the base materials. One major issue I was running into was my bakes started to break. It took me 20 to 30 minutes to finally find out what the issue was and the solution. The second issue was once I got the preview working, I noticed due to me reusing assets by rotating and flipping them around, I was getting artifacts in areas where geometry was crashing or very close to each other. In my first attempt, I duplicated all the pieces I knew I was going to reuse and placed it where they were going to be in the final model. I moved the UVs one grid unit to the left. In this case, -1. I knew that wherever you have duplicated geo, you need to make sure the UVs are not overlapping. I also found it was much easier and more organized to combine the duplicated preview mesh as one mesh. And finally, it dawned on me. I had forgotten that the entire full preview asset should have its UVs completely moved out of the 0 to 1 UV space, so it wasn't overlapping my mesh I wanted to do the bakes and painting on. Another thing of note that I was doing wrong was my bake settings. I hadn't realized that the match naming was not turned on, and the lowercase _low and _high needed to match what I was naming my assets, which in this case, I was using uppercase letters for the L and the H. Now for the second major issue was the overlapping artifact from baking. To fix this, I went back to Maya, looked at all the assets that was causing issues, and moved them away from the crashing geo to get cleaner bakes. Reminder, you need to do this in your low poly, and then make sure you move the matching parts in your high poly as well. To keep this more simple, I try and use easy numbers like 1, -1, or 2. I will move them either on the y-axis, the z-axis, or the x-axis, depending on where the object is. My scene is currently set to meters, just for your reference. I re-imported the low and high poly meshes back into Painter and rebaked to check for more errors. I notice now the windmill blades was causing some unwanted baking of AO to the roof. So I also moved those away from the roof to get cleaner bakes. At this moment, because I had moved geo and already worked on the base material, that work is now broken on anything that had moved. I spent 15 minutes or so repainting the base materials and the mass. This is the final result, once I was able to resolve all these issues. So some key takeaways. Next time, I will do this process before I even start making the base materials. Make your preview mesh and then move the entire preview mesh UVs one unit away from the 0 to 1. Plan ahead with geo that will be intersecting and crashing and blow up the mesh preemptively. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye.